Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Sydney from PhoneDog.com and welcome to PhoneDog Live. This is our weekly podcast with video added in. We are broadcasting live on Ustream, so if you're there, feel free to leave your comments or questions as we discuss the topics. We're also broadcasting this on our Facebook page, so if you are on Facebook, I'll be checking that too. So hi, thanks for coming. And then lastly, we also record this, of course, every week, and so you can watch this on YouTube. So if you are watching on YouTube, thanks for watching. Be sure and check out the description box because it has the timeline of the topics that we discuss. So you can just skip to whichever topic you want to hear, and you don't have to watch the whole thing if you don't want to. So that's in the description below the video. So I'm glad everyone could be here. We do have a lot of interesting topics. A lot of big things happened this week. There are so many things. I had one huge topic prepared, and I was like, all right, we're going to talk about this, and then something else happened, and then I was like, all right, so we'll slide that down, and we'll talk about this first, and then something else huge happened, and so a lot to talk about. Hopefully, we'll get to all of it. If you follow me on Twitter, you know that I've sent out a couple tweets letting you guys know that we were going to have a special guest on today. And so hopefully he'll be calling in a few minutes, and so we'll be able to chat. We tried to get everything worked out so we could do like a double video so you guys could kind of see him talking, but it didn't work out. So we're just going to do a video or a phone call, and then I'll have it on speakerphone, sort of a roundabout way of doing it. But until we can get everything figured out, maybe we'll have some other co-hosts on in the future. But anyway, we're going to wait for that call. In the meantime, I'll let you guys know basically the gist of what we're going to talk about. So we're going to start with this topic. We're going to talk about the new BlackBerries. We just got some pricing info and release dates for all the new BlackBerries. Some of them are a little expensive, so we're going to talk about, are these new BlackBerries too expensive? Can they still compete being at this price point? Then we're going to move on to Aaron is actually doing a 30-day challenge. He's going to switch to a BlackBerry Bold 9930 full-time as his primary device. He has a couple of personal devices, but the challenge is to stay with a BlackBerry full-time for 30 days, and so he's going to see if he can do that. So I thought it'd be interesting to kind of talk about that and see what you guys think about it. And then, of course, the other big news is HP kind of dumping webOS. It was just kind of came out of the blue. I mean, obviously the touchpad struggled. The pre-2, the HP Veer, the pre-3. There hasn't really been a whole lot of excitement around it, but I don't think anyone really expected this. It was certainly a possibility, but I don't think anyone really expected it. So that's sad news. But we're going to get into more detail on that, and then let me see, what else do we have here? Oh, Fusion Garage, Tabco. Tabco was this mysterious advertising campaign that was going on for, months, or maybe not months, but a couple of months. And now we finally know what it is, so we're going to talk about that. And then move on to Google buying Motorola. There's so many huge topics. There was the new BlackBerries, and then there was the Tabco thing, and then Google bought Motorola. It was huge. And so we're going to We're going to talk about, sorry, my tongue got in the way. We're going to talk about Google buying Motorola and what this means for Android, what it means for Motorola devices, what it means for MotoBlur, if it's going to stay or if it's going to wane. And then we have a couple of extras that we're going to move on to. Dealing with the iPhone, I don't know if we're going to get to those, but we're certainly going to try. So first of all, to start off with these new BlackBerries. So let me just give you guys a rundown of the pricing info and the release dates, and this is also going to be in the blog post that I post along with the recording that you can watch. I'm going to have a rundown of the topics and give you more detailed info. But anyway, so the Bold 9900 9930 is coming to T-Mobile August 31st for $299, $300. And I believe that is even after a $50 mail-in rebate. So you're going to end up paying you're going to start off paying $350 for the Bold, which is expensive. But anyway, that's T-Mobile. Verizon Bold 9930 is coming actually is available now for $249. Sprint has it, or will have it, August 21st for, again, $249. The Torch 9810, excuse me, which is similar to the original Torch that we saw with the touchscreen and the keyboard. That's coming to AT&T August 21st for $49.99, so definitely a better price. And then the Torch 9850, which is basically like the third Storm, it's just an all-touchscreen device. That's coming to Sprint August 21st for $149.99. So, you know, the prices for the Torch 9850 and the Torch 9810, not bad. You know, $50, $149. You know, granted, these are amazing high-end devices, but, you know, if you want people to buy your product, you're going to have to price it really low, especially when you're still trying to kind of build, you know, come out of the ashes a little bit. So the $149, the $49, great prices. The problem that a lot of people are having is with the Bold, the 9900. $350 or you know, $300 or $250. You know, and granted, you know, this is a great device. I mean, you know, 1.2 gigahertz processor. It now has a touchscreen. It's, you know, one of the best, you know, most well-built BlackBerries. At least, you know, that's what people are saying that have used it. You know, high-quality products. It's extremely thin. The keyboard is, you know, 5% larger or 6% larger. So, you know, this is an amazing BlackBerry. But I think the fact of the matter is that it's still a BlackBerry. And so, you know, I think people have certain ideas when it comes to that, at least in this market. You know, for a long time, BlackBerry was king. And it was, you know, you was either like BlackBerry or you might consider something else. And then the iPhone came and people kind of saw another option, like another side of the coin. Oh, okay, I can do media things with a smartphone. I can download apps, and people decided they wanted that. So that's what people want. And so BlackBerry kind of has, or RIM has, an uphill climb right now because there's kind of been a lot of bad press. The numbers haven't been, you know, great in terms of, you know, revenue and how the business is going. You know, BlackBerry has kind of left the minds of users, and, you know, the question is, why would I go for a BlackBerry with all these preconceived notions about a BlackBerry? Why would I go for that for $300 when I could get, you know, an iPhone for, you know, $200, or I could get, you know, I could get the Infuse, or just any number of phones for, you know, $200 or $150. You know, and then there's other phones that, you know, they run specials where they're free. So why would I go for a BlackBerry for $300 when I can get something else for cheaper or the same price? You know, and this is just basically up to the consumer. You know, personally, I can say I wouldn't pay $350 for it. I wouldn't pay $300 for it. I wouldn't pay $300 for any phone. I mean, if it were an iPhone, well, and if I wanted an iPhone, I'm not really a huge iOS fan, but if it were an Android phone or Windows Phone 7 device, I wouldn't pay $300 for any phone. So, you know, much less a BlackBerry, which, granted, the app selection is not that great, and, you know, the loyalists see it as the ultimate business device, which it is, and that's excellent. It's the ultimate business device. But, you know, there's not the majority of the market. They're just normal, average consumers. I mean, they're not enterprise users, so there will be people that need a device like this, but the majority of people, you know, just aren't that kind of user. So, there's an article that was written by Evan. That was kind of an interesting article. Is basically asking this question: is a 9900 too expensive? He put it this way: there's no way you can justify that price. It's just too expensive. You know, it's not about what it has to offer or what it doesn't have to offer. But the fact is that there are other phones out there with just as much power or more power, with more apps, with better hardware, and, you know, for the same price or less. And so I think even just taking away all of the great things that BlackBerry has to offer, it's just too much. I think that BlackBerry is kind of riding on, and I think Evan brought this out too in his article, they're riding on their name more than anything else and hoping for the best. And I think, HP made that mistake whenever they bought webOS, and they're thinking, oh, okay, we're HP, we make awesome, or, we make good computers and laptops and printers, and so now we're going to make a phone, and people are going to love it, and we can just charge whatever for it. And it didn't work, and I have a feeling that this isn't going to work for BlackBerry either. But, again, we'll have to wait and see what consumers do. And you guys, feel free to leave your comments on Ustream or on Facebook if you think that the new BlackBerry Bold is too expensive. Let me see what you guys have to say. I have the 8530. Now I have I had the 8530. Now I have the Evo 3D. Yeah, $100 is quite a lot. It's coming soon, though, for you US folks. You must be talking about another phone. No more BlackBerry. Okay, I have an iPhone 3GS, best phone out there. Virgin Mobile Curve. So yeah, there's still some BlackBerry users out there, but I don't know. I think it's definitely too expensive. $300, $350. But and again, it's like, okay, so the 9810 is $50, which is an excellent price. Granted, the build quality is a little lower. I mean, it's made out of plastic, but still, I mean, the price is great. I don't understand why they couldn't kind of be a little more flexible with the Bolds. But we'll have to see. Now, Aaron, he is actually. He did an unboxing of the 9930. He posted his first impressions, but he also decided to see, is this phone worth the money, or can it compete with other phones on the market? So the challenge that he has made for himself is, this challenge that he has taken on for himself, is to use the BlackBerry Bold 9930 for 30 days. And just to see if it's actually, worth it. Could you buy this phone and use it as your primary device? Will you miss the apps too much? Or will you miss, other aspects that Android and iOS bring, so much that, you just can't live with a BlackBerry? It does have some amazing things to offer, BlackBerry Messenger. But, are those things that it has to offer, do they outweigh the negatives of the device? I think we have the caller. Okay, this is our special guest. Everybody get excited. Okay. Hello? That's okay. I'm going to put you on speakerphone, okay? Oh, wait. Who is this? Oh, okay. I was about to say you. Okay. Hold on, let me put you on speakerphone. He was playing a joke. Did you catch that? Okay. Speaker. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, can you guys hear him? Let me put this speaker up to the microphone. Okay,
Yeah, I played a joke on you. My goal was to get you to laugh within the first 10 seconds.
Oh, okay, I see. Alright, so let me know, guys, on Ustream if you can hear it. I know the audio is terrible because he's just on speakerphone. But if you can't hear it... Okay, you can hear him. And it is Aaron. Yes, it's Aaron.
Honda 46! Oh, Aaron, exclamation point.
Okay, so can you see the chat on Ustream then?
Yeah, I'm reading it right now. So,
okay, cool.
BlackBerry challenge that this weirdo guy is doing on our website.
Okay, cool. Well, this is perfect timing, actually, because I was just talking about your 30-day challenge to use BlackBerry and see if it was actually worth it. I was reading your first impressions article, and it seems like you're impressed. Is it still working, or are you kind of starting to get bored with it?
Okay, so it's two things for me. One, I just switch phones, period, every couple of weeks. It all depends on, literally every 10 or 12 days I usually switch phones regardless whether it's an Android, an iOS device, BlackBerry, whatever. That said, I have been more impressed. I honestly switched over and thought after a day or two I'm going to be pretty tired of this, but it is substantially faster than the predecessors. The browser is a tremendous improvement. Now the big problem comes in, pitching to zoom on a 2.8-inch screen. It's pretty small, and that's a big challenge. So, it's very tiny. If I'm trying to get the text in, I have no clue what he's saying. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I got sidetracked reading the comments. Anyway, so I've been really pleased with it so far. I'm 4 days in, so we'll see if I can last the other 26 days. But I have a feeling about a weekend I'm just going to get an itch period for a new phone. So it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard, but I don't turn down challenges. So
yeah. Okay. In case you guys didn't understand, he said that it's a lot faster and the browser is very much improved. And I think you said in the unboxing for the new Torch that the browser is a 100% improvement over what was offered in pre-BlackBerry 6 web browsers. So that's nice to see.
Yeah, I mean, RIM says, it's what, a 40% improvement over BlackBerry 6 and 100% improvement over BlackBerry OS 5.0. I think it's a million% improvement because, I mean, I know that sounds funny, but like literally it is, it's definitely not on par with iOS and Android, but it is much better, much better. It's faster. The pitch and zoom is faster. And I haven't, 4 days in, I haven't gotten to the point where I'm like, I miss Android, I miss iOS, I miss Windows Phone, something with a, superior web browser. I mean, there's still work to be done, but it is substantially better. I mean, the keyboard is to die for. You message a lot, the keyboard is where it's at. And we tell Casper he's fired. That'd be great. Because he's spamming the chat link.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the last part, but I heard everything else you said about the web browser. Okay, well that's good. Okay, so I also wanted to ask that we were talking about the price. That was the first topic that we discussed, and like $300, $350, $250. If you were just, normal, average, everyday consumer, would you buy it if you had watched reviews and seen or, heard what people said about the improved web browser? Do you think it's worth that much?
No, I don't think, absolutely not. No, it's not worth $249.99. It's not worth $299. I mean, historically, I have a feeling it'll drop about 3 or 4 months in. But still, I mean, you look at it, I walk up to a regular consumer. I mean, we look at this, and this, maybe on the site, we look at stuff from a consumer standpoint, just not a nerd standpoint. All the BlackBerry fans are going to buy 9900 or 9930, but we try to look at it from a consumer standpoint. So if I were to ask my mom, my mom asked me whether, she said, which phone should I buy? Should I buy the iPhone 4? Should I buy the Droid X2? Or should I buy the old 9930? I would honestly recommend, I would still recommend because of the lower price point and because of the features it offers, one of the two first ones, either the Droid X2 or the iPhone 4. I mean, you look at $50 more expensive rather than the iPhone 4. That's a pretty bold price point, pun intended. And, we'll see how it performs. But I have a feeling they'll drop the price. They'll probably drop it to $199 within a couple months. But I feel bad for the T-Mobile users that are daring to spend $350 out of the gate.
Yeah, well, and like what Aaron was saying, if you guys didn't understand, that he thinks that they'll probably drop the price, which is exactly what I was thinking. HP did that with the touchpad, and that usually happens, with devices here and there. They'll launch, and they'll be, either expensive or just kind of a little bit on the high-end side, and then they usually drop the price. So that's what I was thinking. If you're looking into it and you want it, but, you think $300 or $350, that's just too much. I have a feeling that RIM is going to lower the price, not just because it's just too high and maybe they'll see that, but also because I just don't think people are going to pay that much for it. I mean, even BlackBerry loyalists, if I were a BlackBerry loyalist, I wouldn't even buy it because I just can't rationalize spending that much on a phone. Okay, so how many days has it been so far since you started?
We're 4 days in, so we have 26 left. I'm not sure if I can do it. I mean, I'm going to do it. I shouldn't say that. I'm going to be positive.
Okay.
I can do it. It'll happen. But 26 days left. So we'll see. It's going to be fine. I have a post going up tonight, most likely. My first kind of BlackBerry challenge post. But when it'll really get interesting is about a week or two in where I'm like, I need a new phone. And that kind of becomes the discussion. That's just me and my phone love.
Yeah. Okay, so, and you have guys watching, he's going to have a column titled BlackBerry Challenge. So are you going to post like every week or every couple weeks?
I'm posting every time that I think of something.
Okay.
And every time I'm like, oh, wait a second, this isn't as I thought. That's kind of going to be the topic of this one, or battery life's bad, which it is. The battery life is a noticeable decline from previous BlackBerries. So that's something to keep in mind. But little things like that, whenever something comes up, versus doing kind of a 30-day, every single day, posting something, more like when it comes up. Because I have a feeling, day to day, you don't really see a lot of change, but when you go 3 or 4 days, you do. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I wrote the article about how I'd switched to Windows Phone 7. I was thinking about doing an update post, like, since it's been, I don't know, a month or something, to kind of see how I liked it. But remember, guys, if he doesn't complete the challenge, then you're going to give it away on Twitter, right? The phone or Facebook?
I'm going to give it away on Twitter or Facebook. And I mean, that's $599. Let me tell you, if you read the post, this is how I meant to say that. It is a $599 value for free.
With a sleazy salesman voice.
With a sleazy salesman voice. So, yes, I knew if I didn't do something like that, I wouldn't be able to keep it for 30 days. I was like, I got to put in something where I lose a substantial amount of money if I don't do this. So
yeah,
that's the challenge. It's going to come. So you were talking about that, but you were talking about webOS before, weren't you? Was it webOS? I came in late.
Before you called.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking. Well, I was talking about whenever HP bought webOS. It kind of seemed like they were planning on using their name as a big boost for it and not necessarily putting in a lot of hard work. And it kind of seems like RIM is trying to do the same thing, builds more on the name rather than, lowering the price as much as they possibly can. And I think that's a mistake if that is what they're trying to do.
So I actually had a dream last night that Dell bought.
Wait, is this a clean dream, or can we share this?
This is don't worry, this is a good one.
Okay.
webOS, I had a dream that Dell bought webOS.
Ah.
So it was a pretty interesting dream, and I just remember them marketing it on the Venue and the Venue Pro. So there's still opportunity. I mean, they didn't say, I don't know if you covered this or not, but they didn't say they were going to totally end software development. I mean, they may pass it on to somebody else or sell it to somebody else. It was all hardware stuff. So.
Yeah, no, we're going to talk about that more later on. I was just kind of relating it back to HP's idea. Okay, so one thing I did want to know is what's the thing that you miss the most from having an Android device or an iOS device?
Two things. One, well, actually, more than two, but the two big ones, web browsing is a big one for me. The web browsing is still subpar. It's not. The gap between BlackBerry 6 and iOS, and BlackBerry 7 and iOS and Android have been shortened. Now, that said, it's still not the best. It's a small display. So with the browsing, I still miss it. It's definitely doable to the point where I haven't, been working with it late at night or something and thought, man, I really want to switch back to my iOS or Android device. But it's, web browsing is one. Music functionality, and this is something, all the people that don't like iOS will give me a hard time about this, but something with iOS, and maybe to a lesser extent Android, they're very out-of-the-box. The media ecosystem with iOS is fantastic. It's second to none. I mean, within 5 minutes, I can be downloading music. My mom can be downloading music. My dad, whoever buys the phone, can be downloading with an iTunes account. The ecosystem is phenomenal, and the ecosystem doesn't quite exist on BlackBerry products. And so, I can't really jump on. I mean, there are options. There are third-party options. There's Amazon. I mean, there's several different choices. But, the ecosystem to the extent of iTunes is there. And I find myself missing that quite a bit where, I hear a song on the radio and I'm like, oh, such and such by Bobby Brown. I'm going to download that because I love 80s music. And so I download that, and I can do it in 2 to 3 minutes depending on the data connection. So those are probably the two biggest things. Why are you laughing at me? I'm watching you on the screen.
I'm reading the comments. Are you reading the comments? It said, I hope City charged her phone before they call. I don't look bored. I was trying to look interested. I was listening, but I'm trying really hard. Well, I was focusing on. I was trying to understand what you were saying because it's a little bit jumbled, and so I was worried if they couldn't understand or if everything was okay. But no, I wasn't bored.
It's okay. I don't know if I believe you. I don't believe you. I mean, that's for the rest of the conversation.
Well, hey, I'm the one that asked the question, so, obviously I'm interested in it.
I don't know. I just like they're written down on a little note card right in front of me because I see you looking down and looking back up, so.
Oh, okay.
And yes, I still do my hair even if it's just my voice because I'm shooting videos today.
Oh, okay. Well, that's cool. I guess we should end it since I don't know, can you guys actually not understand what he's saying, or is that just a few people?
I think it's just a few because I've been watching and some people are saying that they can hear it and some people are saying they can't, so we don't want to understand.
Okay. Alright, well, do you have anything else to say about BlackBerry or about, your amazing employees?
I do have something to say about the amazing employees. Everybody, you can't hear them do this, but everybody should give Sydney a big hand at their house because Sydney does a great job with this, and I tell her this all the time. You guys give her a hand. Give her a virtual pat on the back because my goal when I came into this, I was like, I'm going to make her blush at least once on this camera, and I think I just did. So
You know, the funny thing is that half of them can't understand you, so they don't even know that you said that. But I think a couple did. I saw a couple people clapping.
I see some people clapping.
Yeah, okay.
Big Sweet 76, you're right. I even talk in my sleep. That's pretty scary, isn't it?
Okay, well, I guess that's all. I guess I'll talk to you later then.
Yeah, I'll talk to you later. See you guys. Enjoy Sydney.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Well, that was exciting, wasn't it? Sorry if you guys couldn't hear him, but I think a few people could, so at least you guys got to the conversation. And I'll watch the recording later on, so I'll see if it was discernible or not. But like I said earlier, we're working on trying to figure out getting co-hosts, so hopefully we can maybe work that out and have it as a better setup. But anyway, so just to recap a little bit of what Aaron said, he said web browsing is 1,000,000 times better, but he still does kind of miss the web browsing experience that Android and iOS offers, and then the ecosystem of, you know, iOS with iTunes, and also that, you know, Android offers with Google services. So again, check out PhoneDog because he's going to be posting articles just whenever he, you know, has an idea about the challenge and how it's going. And then again, if he doesn't complete the challenge, if he doesn't keep the BlackBerry, excuse me, for 30 days, then he's going to give it away on Twitter or Facebook. So, you know, let's hope he doesn't make it. Okay, so moving on, we kind of touched on this earlier. HP sort of not fully dumping webOS, but okay, so basically what they've said is they're going to discontinue operations on the hardware, on devices. So they're no longer going to make webOS, the pre-phones or the touchpad. There aren't going to be any more of those devices. Now, as far as the software goes, they haven't been very specific on what they plan to do. The theory is that they're going to license it to somebody. But, you know, first of all, just talking about this decision to, you know, to just basically give up on webOS from an HP point of view. I mean, they may let, you know, HTC or Samsung work with it, but from an HP point of view, they're basically done with webOS in terms of making the hardware, which, you know, a lot of people are upset about. I've read articles, I've listened to other podcasts, and, you know, heard other people vent their frustrations. I've vented my frustrations, and it's basically, you know, HP gave up on webOS, but I mean, you know, HP didn't really try that hard. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that they bought Palm. The touchpad came out, you know, what, a few months ago, a couple of months ago, and yeah, it received terrible reviews, but it was because of the hardware, because HP kind of just, you know, pushed it out before it was ready. The hardware was lackluster, to say the least. You know, and so it's kind of disappointing that HP kind of just thought that, you know, oh yeah, we're going to buy Palm and use webOS, and it's going to be great, we're going to make lots of money, and people are going to buy it, because, you know, we're HP, and our stuff is awesome, so people, you know, why would they not buy it? And then, you know, they, you know, push these devices out with kind of, you know, they were good devices, the software was great, but the hardware left much to be desired, and they kind of just thought people would buy it anyway, and then when they didn't, now they're like, oh, well, you know, forget this. And it's just like, no, I mean, you can't do that. You invested so much money into this. You have a great operating system. You know, granted, it's not perfect. I think someone tweeted yesterday, he said, you know, I don't understand all this unconditional love for webOS. You know, people act like it's perfect, and it's not. And then the fact is that it's not perfect. But, you know, the operating system is not a person. You know, it can't make itself better. You know, the operating system needs support from a company. The company, HP, has to make it better, or Palm had to make it better. And so that was, and everybody understood that. When HP bought Palm, we're like, all right, we can make some improvements to webOS. We can make it better. We can get some better hardware. That's what everyone expected. And so when HP didn't really do any of that, I mean, they didn't really add any improvements to webOS besides what Palm had already planned. You know, Palm already had some big updates coming down the line, and those came out once HP bought them, but that was all, what Palm had already done. HP really did nothing to improve webOS, but then they just released it, expecting people to forget that, oh yeah, it's not perfect, but we're HP. And so, I don't know, basically every aspect of this, HP just really screwed up on. The marketing was better, but still, I don't, I see the commercials with Russell Brand and the wrestler, what's his name? Is that Manny Pacquiao? I'm not sure. I'm not a wrestler. I don't watch boxing, so I don't know. With that guy, and they're kind of like, oh yeah, that's interesting. But looking at it from the point of view of having used webOS and the features of webOS that they showed were not the right features to show. I mean, I think the commercial with Russell Brand, he's talking about the just type feature, how you can just type something in and it'll show web results and results from your social networks and results from Wikipedia or the App Store, which is admittedly, yes, that's a great feature, but I mean, basically every operating system has that feature, and not only that, that's not the big selling point of webOS. It was more the multitasking and the cards and in the basic aesthetics of it, and they never really showed that off. So the marketing was bad, the hardware was bad, the fact that they launched it before it was even ready, that was bad. They just basically screwed up everything, and now they're saying, you know what, webOS, not worth it. I think, what was her name? She, one of on the earnings call, she made the point, or she said that they would have to invest so much money over the next 1 to 2 years with, basically no promises that it would give them any benefits, and they just didn't want to do that. And I'm thinking, well, why did you buy it? Why did you buy Palm in the first place if you didn't want to invest any money or any time? You're going to buy an operating system that admittedly needs a little bit of work, but you're not going to work on it, and then whenever it fails, you're just going to throw it away? I mean, it was just like, the mentality was completely wrong. Anyway, so enough of that rant. I know that was kind of a rant. So basically, HP has given up on webOS from a hardware point of view. Now, the talk is that HP could do a couple of things. They could sell the pieces of webOS that's necessary. And maybe sell it to Samsung or HTC and let them make a webOS device. They could just license it and let someone else make a webOS device. Or there's talk that they may keep it for themselves if they're not going to make cell phones and tablets. Maybe using this with their printers and maybe trying to find a way to implement it in that way. Even more surprising is that HP has basically also said they're shutting down their PC division, including laptops, which is a huge part of HP. So, this is kind of a huge deal. It could mean the end of basically HP the way that the consumer knows it. It could mean the end of webOS. I've heard people say that yeah, there's talk that we're not giving up on webOS and we're going to find a way to license it. But, I've heard people say that, yeah, that's just kind of talk to keep the consumer happy. At this point, we really don't know, but it's a shame. It's funny because I was talking about how webOS isn't a person, so it can't improve itself. But even so, I feel sorry for webOS, as if it had feelings, or I guess the people I should be feeling sorry for are Palm, since they are the ones that put all the hard work into it. I do feel sorry for the people that worked on developing it, that got their hopes up, thinking all right, Palm, we were low on resources, we have this dream, but we didn't have enough money to really make it happen, and so HP is going to come in and buy us, and it's going to be great. And now 4 months later, it's like, oh yeah, we don't really want to spend any more money on this, so we're just going to put it on a printer. So it's a sad thing for Palm, for webOS, and for HP. This is a phone site, PhoneDog, so obviously the aspect of no more HP computers and laptops isn't really relevant to what we cover, but it's definitely sad. And of course, going back to a lot of people have brought out that whenever HP first bought Palm, the CEO at the time, he's not the CEO anymore, Mark Hurd, he said that they didn't buy webOS to be in the smartphone business. And we were like, oh yeah, that's alright, but you're going to make smartphones, right? But apparently, he was serious. They did not want to be in the smartphone business. So I don't know, maybe this was the plan from the beginning. Maybe they never really wanted to make webOS hardware. Who knows? I'm disappointed. I've used a webOS device. I don't know that I would have one as my personal device. I recently switched to Windows Phone 7, and webOS was an option. I chose not to go with it because, yeah, it needed some work, and I was thinking, okay, HP will work on it, and maybe I'll get one in the future. But now it's not even an option. So what's interesting about the webOS aspect of everything is, kind of ties into our next topic of this Tabco campaign, and I'll come back to how webOS ties into it. But just let me give you a recap of basically what I'm talking about. So Tabco has been sort of this mystery campaign that's been going on. And by the way, I understand, guys, that it's 4:36 or 5:36. I have a feeling that this stream is going to run over a little bit over the normal hour that we give it. So don't worry, we're going to get to the open Q&A. So Tabco has been this mystery campaign that's been going on. They're going to release this amazing tablet that's going to change the world, and it's going to be magical and revolutionary, to steal a couple of phrases. And it was finally revealed on Monday that the company behind Tabco, the real company, was Fusion Garage, which is the company that made the Juju. Now, that's just the weirdest name, Juju. But anyway, if you don't remember Juju, we did I can't remember who, I don't know if that was Taylor or you that posted this article that kind of gave a refresh of the Juju tablet. It was kind of this idea of Fusion Garage and Michael Arrington, who was with TechCrunch, and they were going to make this tablet called the Crunch Pad. This was back in 2009. And then just a whole lot of problems. There were lawsuits. Fusion Garage is like, well, we'll just make it on our own. It was released. The software was basically terrible. There was a lot of problems. They couldn't get it shipped. There were delays. Basically, they just ended it. Enough of the Juju. It's dead. It's gone. So Fusion Garage obviously has probably one of the worst reputations in recent technology history. So it was so bad that when they decided to launch their next tablet, they couldn't even tell people, hey, we're launching another tablet. They had to use this fake company to get people interested in it. But anyway, so they launched the Grid 10 tablet, the Grid 4 phone. It's based on Grid OS, which is, built around the Android kernel, but it's, an entirely different skin, I guess you could say. More than just, Sense UI or TouchWiz. It looks like an entirely different operating system. Specs for it are great. 10-inch tablet, 1.2 gigahertz dual-core processor. The display, 1366 by 768, amazing resolution. But the problem with this tablet is that, for one thing, it's made by the same company that gave us the Juju. So, why should we even bother being interested in this? For another thing, again, they have such a bad reputation, which kind of goes along with the first point. They had such a bad reputation, they couldn't even tell us who it really was. And for another thing, is there room for another operating system? And that was the question that was presented by Taylor. I don't know, Taylor, are you still here? You're leaving now. Okay. Yeah, okay, so Taylor presented this question, is there room in the market for another operating system, for Grid OS? We have iOS, we have Android, we have Windows Phone 7, we have BlackBerry, we had webOS. So what I was thinking, now that webOS is, for the time being, not there, it may be licensed or it may be used somewhere else, but for the time being, it's not there. Does, the killing off of webOS at the moment make room for Grid OS? And the obvious answer is probably not, because webOS never really had that much of a market share, or mind share for that matter. But, on the other hand, when you just list the OSs, we have one less. So instead of having 5, we have 4. So, I mean, yeah, it sounds like there may be room for it. But I think the problem with this, and it kind of goes back to the same problem that Motorola had with the Zoom and that HP had with the touchpad, is pricing. Now, I understand that companies they gotta make money. And whenever you put, a dual-core processor, a high-resolution display, cameras, you're gonna have to charge some money for this. But if there were any way possible to make it cheaper, I think it'd be a good idea, because it goes back to the same question: why would I buy a tablet by a company whose first tablet was probably the worst tablet ever made? Why would I buy a tablet from them for the same price of an iPad, which is made by a company who makes some of the best products ever made? So, the pricing is, to me, the pricing is everything. Advertising is probably second, because advertising is where you tell people, this is why you should buy our product for the same price as that other product that everyone says is better. But, the first thing would be pricing, I would imagine. So, I don't know, I think that would be the first problem. The second problem just has to do with the OS itself, and people are going to, vary on their opinions on this. When I first saw the Grid OS, and I have a couple of pictures that I can show you guys of, the Grid OS and the Grid tablet, it's kind of a different take on everything. This is the unlock screen, and you basically sign your name to unlock it. Here's the Grid tablet. You can see it's made very well. They've added other features like the heartbeat, which is sort of like a notification system, but expanded 10 times with other features, other useful features. So I wish I had a picture of the home screen, but I don't, because I was stupid and didn't get that. So the OS is very different. And whenever I first saw it, I was like, okay, so this is completely different. They didn't just take Android and make a couple of changes, or they didn't just say, okay, we like the look of iOS, let's make this basically the same thing. They really just changed every aspect of the operating system, everything you can possibly imagine. And they stuck some great hardware in there, a dual-core processor, a high-resolution display. I was shocked when I saw the numbers. But the problem is, when you get down to, beyond, oh wow, it looks so cool, and it's so pretty, and it's so different, beyond all of that, when you get down to actually using it, I don't know if this is actually useful. You have, the home screen is basically an endless landscape, so to speak, an endless grid. Let me get my hand on there. This is the endless grid, and I looked at my hand as if it were the tablet. Anyway, so you have this endless grid, and then you can put icons, and you can group them together, and they make this sort of like bubble griddy shape. And you can have different grid, different groups here and there, and it's just endless. You can scroll as far to the left or far to the right or up and down as far as you want, which is really cool. But if I happen to be like on the where the web browser icon is, and I need to go over to like I don't know, Angry Birds, and it's like on the other side of the grid, I'm gonna have to scroll over, and it's not very intuitive because you just have to hunt for it. I mean, the UI doesn't help you at all in finding an app, so you just kind of have to like hunt for it on this grid. So looking at it aesthetically, it's beautiful. They've changed everything, which is kudos to you, Fusion Garage. But I wonder, like, is this actually useful? I mean, could I actually use this sort of device? But anyway, I'm not going to pass judgment yet. I know I kind of just went on a rant on how it's not going to work. I'm not going to pass judgment yet because I don't think it's really fair to the tablet. And I don't think it's fair to Fusion Garage. I think that they've really learned from their mistakes. I think they made a lot of mistakes with the Juju, and I'm going to take a drink really quick. I think they made a lot of mistakes with the original tablet, and I think they learned from their mistakes. And the other thing that you have to think about is that Fusion Garage is a small company. They're not HP, they're not HTC, they're not Apple. So it was just a small company that no one had ever really heard of. So if they made a product that tanked, alright, we're just a small company, not a lot of people, let's just move on, maybe this isn't the right thing for us. There was no reason to make another tablet, because it's not like they had a reputation to save. They didn't even have a reputation before. So there was no reason to make another tablet, but they wanted to make one, I don't know, so desperately. So if you're going to force it, then you'd better be sure that you're doing it right. And I think they understood that. I think that's why they had this, fake campaign. That's why they made sure they put the best specs in it that they possibly could. That's why they made sure, of all of these things. I think they understand, you know what, we don't have to make another tablet, but we want to, and we're going to make sure that it's the best tablet we could possibly make. And for those reasons, I think it deserves a chance. Now, it may be terrible. I don't know. It may not sell a single unit, but you got to give it a chance. And then also, one thing that I thought was interesting, I have my notes here on my phone. That's why I was looking down. One thing that I think was interesting, whenever I was watching the broadcast, which I don't think it was live, by the way. I think that was pre-recorded. But anyway, whenever I was watching the broadcast, did you notice, I don't know, when you guys comment on this on Ustream, tell me if you noticed this. Did you notice that they didn't really focus on the hardware? Like, yes, it has a dual-core processor, and yes, the tablet has the highest resolution display on the market. Yes, it has front-facing camera and all that, but that was kind of just like one slide they put up there for like 5 seconds, and then it went away. I didn't even have time to get a screen capture of it because it was just gone so fast. The entire webcast was focused on the software, and I think that is very smart because, people ask me all the time, what's the best tablet? Should I get the Samsung Galaxy Tab or this tab or the Zoom or the Lenovo? And in terms of hardware, it's all the same. Dual-core processor, front-facing camera, 10-inch display. The hardware is all the same. And since they run Android, the software is all the same. So, with Fusion Garage, they didn't want to just say, we have a dual-core processor, because everyone's going to be like, yeah, everybody has a dual-core processor. Have you read the news? They focused on the software, which is basically showing that they have confidence in it. They're not going to have kind of lackluster software, but kind of stand behind, but we have a dual-core processor and we have a high-resolution display. I think a lot of tablet makers do that. I think they say, all right, we're going to use Android, and I know that everyone has it, and maybe the hardware, it's kind of thick or bulky, or, maybe we added this really pointless, user interface to it, but we have a dual-core processor, so it's okay. I think manufacturers kind of hide behind that a little bit, and Fusion Garage, they weren't afraid. They were going to say, you know what, our software is the best out there besides iOS. They weren't afraid to say that. And so I think it kind of shows their confidence, and it makes me curious. Okay, so I don't know, maybe it is good. So that's why I think it deserves a chance. Again, I'm going to say that again. There are a lot of cool features. Obviously, it's based on Android, so it will run Android apps. It will be open to third-party app markets, like Amazon and so on. They're going to have their own separate Grid app market, but I don't really see that getting a lot of support. But it's okay because it runs Android apps, so it's not really that big of a deal. And another thing that they didn't really specify this, but I'm thinking cloud services. They talk about, this is the paragraph from the website. Do you have a big movie collection on your desktop computer? How about other media libraries like iTunes? Wouldn't you like to enjoy them on your Grid 10? No problem. Transfer them effortlessly from your desktop computer to your Grid 10 through our Grid desktop. So, are they going to have, iTunes obviously is not going to be on the Grid 10. So, are they going to have this desktop, PC desktop application? Or is this going to be some sort of cloud service? I mean, obviously, it's not going to be anything as massive as what Apple is doing with their iCloud services. But interesting there. They didn't really specify that. But anyway, a lot of cool features. I think it deserves a shot. But then again, I mean, this is reality. We're not living in a dream world. I tend to be like, yeah, it can do it. Let's fight. Yeah, there's room for another operating system. But the simple fact is, you know, I don't care what the numbers say, more people are going to buy an iPhone than are going to buy the Sensation. It's just the bottom line. Everyone wants an iPhone because it's Apple. But I'm going to give it a chance. I'm going to see. I'm going to use it, and then I'm going to see how it does. Okay, so we do have time for our last point. I don't think we're going to be able to move on to our extras, which is disappointing, but I don't know. Let me ask you guys, would you rather talk about Google buying Motorola, or would you rather talk about iPhone rumors, or would you rather talk about the lawsuits and how Apple faked the evidence? You have three options: Apple faking evidence, iOS or iPhone rumors, or Google buying Motorola. Okay, I've got Google buying Motorola 3-2 for the Apple lawsuits. Google buying Motorola. Okay, it looks like Google buying Motorola is winning. I know faking evidence is... Okay, so we're going to talk about Google buying Motorola, which is good because that was my next topic. Oh, Apple fake... Oh, nope, Apple faking... Okay, you know what? We'll talk about both. Okay, so Google bought... Yeah, just, you know, enough of the poll. Let's just talk about what I want to talk about. Okay, so Google bought Motorola for $12.5 billion, which is a lot of money, but Google made sure to tell us, don't worry, we still have plenty of money after this $12.5 bill, which is like, okay. You know, it's, you know, I wonder, okay, so Google has 12 over, you know, I don't know, they have enough to pay $12.5 billion for a company. Apple has more money than the U.S. government. And then I'm thinking, so why is world hunger still a problem? I'm lost. But anyway, okay, so they bought them, and so of course people are wondering, what does this mean? Is the next Nexus phone going to be Motorola? You know, down with Moto Blur. You know, what does this mean? Yes, there is a chance that, you know, that Google and Motorola are now, you know, best buddies, and all the Nexus phones are going to be Motorola devices, and every Motorola Android phone is going to come out lickety-split. They're going to get all the updates, and a developer's dream. There's a chance that it could be like that, and trust me, I want that just as much as the next person. Any reason to get rid of Moto Blur, I will pay $12.5 billion to make that happen. But I think that's probably the last option. I think the main thing was that Google just needed some patents. They're getting sued left and right. HTC is getting sued. Samsung's getting sued. Motorola was getting sued. They're getting sued left and right. And they needed some patents. So I think that was the biggest deal. I think with this, with Google acquiring Motorola, it gives them access to over 17,000 mobile-related patents, which is a big boost for all these lawsuits. I think that's the biggest thing. Beyond that, you know, I don't know if the Nexus phone is going to be Motorola from now on. I don't know if maybe Google just wanted the patents and now they're going to, you know, kind of just be like, all right, Motorola, you know, just do your own thing. You know, or maybe they're just going to kind of shut down Motorola because we bought you and we don't really need you anymore because, you know, let's face it, Samsung and HTC and LG, they're kind of number one in smartphone, you know, Android smartphones. So, you know, personally, I don't really think that it has anything to do with killing Blur and, you know, making every Nexus phone a Motorola device. I think it's more just about the patents. But anyway, we did a poll on PhoneDog, of course, because we are PhoneDog. There were about 1,000 votes. The question was, are you in support of Google's acquisition of Motorola? 62% said yes, 27% said I don't know, and 11% said no. Now, I think a lot of these responses were based on the Nexus phone being a Motorola device and killing Moto Blur. We don't actually know if that's going to happen, so I don't know if people would change their mind if they actually thought about that. But anyway, that's what I think. I don't really think it's going to be this match, you know, this marriage like people have been saying, but the patents are definitely a big deal. Okay, so lastly, the last thing that you guys wanted to hear about was Apple faking, I shouldn't say faking, using inaccurate images in their lawsuits against Samsung. Now, I have some pictures to show you what exactly I'm talking about. This is a picture that was used in the filing regarding the Samsung Galaxy Tab. And the person that made this has also included some grid lines to kind of show you their point. So the above image is the Samsung Galaxy Tab, basically what it looks like according to Samsung. But the bottom image is the image that Apple used. Now, never mind the fact that they used the app drawer on the Galaxy Tab and the home page of the iPad, and they intentionally did this to make it look like Samsung copied even more off of the Apple iPad, even though the home pages are completely different, but whatever. But if we just go to the aspect ratio, you can see clearly here that they've tweaked the image. The image used by Apple shows the Galaxy Tab 10.1 with an aspect ratio of 1.36 compared to the iPad and its 1.30 aspect ratio, making it look very similar. However, the official Tab 10.1's aspect ratio measures out to 1.46. As you can see, it's thinner and taller. Now moving on to the Samsung Galaxy S and another lawsuit that Apple has filed. The two phones on the left are part of Apple's filings. The phone on the right is the true image of the Samsung Galaxy S. These images portray the Galaxy S and the iPhone 3G as being around the same size. In reality, though, the Galaxy S is a full 7 millimeters taller than the 3G and a tad wider as well. So it's clear that Apple has tweaked these images, has, intentionally done that to help their case, which I think is illegal, if I'm not mistaken, but also shows it's just sad. It's just sad. And, it's my job to stay unbiased and just present facts as facts. And I said, yes, Apple has the right to sue because, yeah, the hardware design is very similar, and you can't deny that. If they patented a rectangle, they patented a rectangle for a tablet. On the other hand, who patents a rectangle? So, yes, there are, two ways to look at it, and I still maintain that. However, Apple, seriously? I mean, what are you, like 8? Come on. This is Apple stooping to lows that I never thought they would stoop to. It was one thing to say whatever they wanted to say. It's one thing to call their products magical and revolutionary, even though they weren't. It's one thing to file a lawsuit. If you, and this is my point, Apple. If you have a case, you have a case. If you don't have a case, you don't have a case. If you're tweaking images, you don't have a case, okay? You don't. This lawsuit should be thrown out the window, and the lawyers for Apple should be shot, burned, and hung in a public square, because this is just sad. So anyway, but again, a rant. I try to like Apple because they do make some of the best products out there. I would rather have a MacBook than Windows PC. I'm just going to say that. However, their business practices, I can't stand them. I never have. Even before these lawsuits just make it worse. But even before that, when they were all like happy and everything, I've never liked Apple as a business. But this is just low. This is just low. Anyway, so that's all we have for today. I did also want to announce a couple of house cleaning things that I just want to tell you guys about. I usually don't announce this, but I think I'm going to. We have our One Paw Bandit game where we give away free phones, and it's a big deal when you win a free phone. So we have a new winner this week of an HTC Evo 3D. Elle O'Donnell of Ohio won the Evo 3D. She says, I've been watching PhoneDog's videos on YouTube for a very long time now, and about 2 weeks ago I decided to give their One Paw Bandit game a try. I've been trying their game every day, but never expecting to win. I was so shocked to win and grateful. I would like to say thank you so much to PhoneDog. You're the best. So congratulations to Elle O'Donnell. She won an HTC Evo 3D. So, see, people do win. Lastly, I'm also sort of changing the format of the blog post. I don't know if you guys check out the blog post on PhoneDog.com. I usually do sort of a recap blog, but I'm going to make it more of a timeline with a summary here and there, just to make it easier for you guys to kind of figure out what it is that we talked about and then skip to those parts of the video, and then to hear my thoughts summarized in a nice little paragraph. And then lastly, Aaron and I have talked about and also I hope Aaron doesn't get upset about this, but Aaron and I have talked about making this an official podcast, as in, having it on iTunes, an audio recording, an MP3 that you can download, and I want to know what you guys think about that. Just, this is just me asking. It's not, an official poll from the site. But I'm kind of interested if you guys would like that. I mean, would you download that MP3? Would you like to have an official podcast that you could get from iTunes, that you could subscribe to? Is that something that you'd be interested in? Just let me know in the comments, and then I'll be able to read them after I end the broadcast, I think. Let me see. Ustream is like, it always scrolls back up to the top. I don't use iTunes. Maybe you guys should do it. I'd rather be here every Friday. You should put it on Amazon. I only have one decent right now, so I'd like another one. Why don't you do a podcast? I have Ubuntu, so I don't have iTunes. Yeah, that would be great. So do it. Oh, because you have school soon. Okay, so maybe not iTunes. Well, it will be on iTunes, but it will also be an MP3 that you can just download, to whatever to use on your MP3 player or smartphone. You won't necessarily have to have iTunes. So if you guys want that, I don't know if it's going to happen. I'm talking with Aaron, so we'll see if it works out. I just wanted to see if there was enough support for it. If there's not enough support for it, then obviously it's not worth it. So just let me know. Also on YouTube, let me know, would you rather have an audio file that you can download rather than watching this video with this every Friday? Okay, so that's all, and it's open Q&A time. It's 5:02, I know, but we'll give open Q&A about 15 minutes the way that we always do, so feel free to leave your questions. Ustream is giving me a little bit of problems with the scrolling, so hopefully I will still get to the most recent comments, because sometimes it jumps around, so. Oh, and also Facebook. I'll be on Facebook too, so feel free to leave your comments there. And then, of course, YouTube. Again, if you guys watching on YouTube, leave your comments. I know I don't always respond to every single one of them because I can't, but leave your comments and I'll try to look at it. Also, by the way, I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to get on to the questions, but also, by the way, I wanted to tell you, I hope you guys enjoyed the dog pound video that I did. It wasn't my best work, but it seems like everyone enjoyed it. So basically what it is I'm going to, take a couple of questions and comments that we get from YouTube, from Facebook, from Twitter, and I'm going to feature them and, have some fun with it, maybe joke around. So, if you have any random comments on your mind that you think would be humorous, hit the comments, and I'll be reading those, and I'll be, checking out the weird ones, and, making some jokes about it. So, feel free to leave your weird and awesome comments on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and all that. Okay, so, open Q&A. Leave a question, anything, and I will try my best to answer it. Let me scroll down on Ustream so I can get to the most recent questions. Sorry, it's giving me some problems. I want to scroll down. Sorry, I'm trying to get to the bottom so I can see the most recent. Okay, Q&A, do something. Okay, let me just go to Facebook. Would be awesome to see webOS on HTC or Samsung device. That comment is from 30 minutes ago, so obviously it's a little bit behind. Okay, so I'm just going to go to Ustream, and the first question that I see, I'm going to answer it. How do you hate Apple and yet have an iCrap? Okay, how do I hate Apple and have an Apple product? I have a MacBook. I have an Apple product because I've had several PCs from, basically, several different PC manufacturers, using Windows, and I've been disappointed by them, and I happened to get a MacBook for work, and I know this sounds cheesy, but it just works. No more Control-Alt-Delete because it freezes. I've had it freeze probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 times in the 2 years that I've had it, so I use it because it's the best product, and you can hate on a company, but you always want to have the best product, and it doesn't make sense to not buy a product simply because of the company, unless they're like, you know, killing babies or something. You know, I mean, if it's like from an ethical point of view, obviously I support that. But, you know, Apple makes, in my opinion, the best laptop, and so that's why I use a MacBook. I don't agree with their business, but, you know, for me, I want to have the best product, so I buy the best product. Okay, next question. I'm going to just scroll all the way down, hope that I get one. Any news on the BlackBerry Curve Touch Malibu or the new Curve? Okay, so Curve Touch, we're thinking that it could come to T-Mobile on August 31st, excuse me, and Sprint on September 9th, and possibly Verizon on September 8th. And that's all I have for now. Can you say your name like you did in the Casio G1 Commando intro? I don't know how I said it. Does Motorola include a version of its platform in its phone like HTC does with its phones 3.0? Okay. Does Motorola include a version of its platform in its phone? Oh, like a platform number? I'm not sure. I don't know. I've actually never seen version numbers for Moto Blur. I just know that, you know, there's different versions and they look different. But I've never seen an official version number, you know, in any sort of like press release or, you know, anything from Motorola. Yes, they do, so maybe I'm wrong. Should HTC skip HC Honeycomb for the Flyer and Evo View 4G and go straight to ice cream sandwich? Should they? Probably, but I don't think they're going to. In fact, I would be surprised if the Flyer got Honeycomb. I know that, you know, they probably said that it will, but I would be surprised if it did. Do you think the new curves will come to Virgin Mobile? Yes, but probably, you know, on down the road, you know, maybe 6 months down the road. What do you think about Google possibly buying HP? I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, it could, but I don't think it's going to. Sorry, Sydney. No problem. Will you use an HP Veer for 30 days like Aaron is using that BlackBerry? No, probably not, but I have my own sort of 30-day challenge. I've been using a Windows Phone device, and it's been almost a month, I think, and so I'm thinking about posting an update article to tell you guys how it's gone over the past month. What is the best cross-platform video chat for tablets and smartphones? You know, honestly, I don't do a lot of video chatting, so I wouldn't be the best person to ask about that. Maybe someone on here that does. I just haven't tested out enough of them to tell you. Do you have a dog? No, I used to. I used to have a blue heeler. His name was Caleb. But no, I don't have him anymore. Sydney, do you think the OS makers are doing enough to help those with disabilities? Interesting question. You know, I'm not sure. I know that the Motorola Triumph had this keyboard called the TalkBack keyboard that was designed for those with certain, I guess, physical disabilities, you know, being blind perhaps. Honestly, they could probably do more, but I'm not sure. I think probably the best thing would be to design a different phone entirely, like an entirely new phone for those with physical disabilities. And that, you know, obviously hasn't really happened, at least not, you know, in the mainstream market. So they could probably do that. I ask because I'm an almost totally blind Android user. Yeah, you know, the thing about Android loyalists, and this is, I'm not trying to attack you. The thing about Android loyalists is that, I don't know if you guys realize this, but you are turning into the very people that you hate. Android loyalists, you are now no better than iOS and iPhone fanboys, because you're just as blind and you're just as arrogant. You'll say that Android is the best OS on the market, hands down. I don't care what comes out 10 years from now. Android is the best. Android kills iOS. Android kills webOS. Android kills BlackBerry, which is just simply not true. Okay, it's not, and it's a fact. You guys have become just as blind and just as arrogant as iPhone fanboys, and it's sad. It's really sad. I like Android as much as the next person, But you can't rationalize. I heard someone left a comment today on PhoneDog. I don't know if it was today, actually. I just saw it today. And they said, I think it was on the article about webOS being gone. They said, good. One less OS. Eventually Android is going to take over. I hope iOS goes down and Windows Phone 7 goes down so that Android, is the only OS on the market. And I'm just thinking, why would you only want one operating system on the market? Why? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Android is not perfect. Trust me, I do cell phone reviews. I've used Android. I've used webOS. I've used iOS. I'm using Windows Phone 7 right now. Trust me, Android is not perfect. There are a lot of faults in Android. iOS isn't perfect. iOS has a lot of faults. webOS obviously isn't perfect. Windows Phone 7 isn't perfect. I've been using it for a month, and I can tell you it's not perfect. But no OS is perfect. That's why we have so many, because, everyone likes something different. So, you Android fanboys, you just, you're turning into iPhone. You're not turning into, you are iPhone fanboys. You're just the same. You just move the words around a little bit. Instead of saying iPhone, you say Android. Other than that, you're basically the same. I don't know if you realize that. Anyway, that dude, I don't remember who that was that posted that comment. I wasn't trying to attack you. That was just a rant. Have you heard of phone cats? Yes, I have. They spam every video. I know. It's fine. Whatever. Hey, Sydney, remember 2 weeks ago the people that stayed on chat 2 hours after the show? That was me. Wait, is this? Okay, these are comments from like an hour ago. Okay. I posted it, and it's cool. Gotta go. Be back next week. Dang it. Ustream is like, keeps scrolling up. What risk should I be taking if I decided to buy a Grid 4? The Grid 4 is the phone for you guys. It didn't want, the risk that you'll be taking is that it's a new operating system, and there's going to be some bugs. Inevitably, there is with every new thing. There's going to be some bugs. There's going to be some things that maybe don't work as smoothly as it should, and maybe some features that maybe they don't work as well as Fusion Garage thought they would. I would recommend just waiting. Don't pre-order it now. Wait till it comes out. Watch some reviews. See, does it really perform that well? Is that something I could use? And then buy it. That's what I would do. It's usually not good to be an early adopter. Next question. I'll do this for about 5 more minutes, and then I gotta run. Okay, should I wait? Ooh. Sorry, okay, should I wait for the 6 months for Virgin Mobile to get one of the new curves or get the current curve today? No, I would wait. The current curve, I don't believe even has BlackBerry 6, which means it's not really worth buying. I would definitely wait. My husband was actually thinking about getting the curve. We were thinking about switching to Virgin Mobile because it was so freaking cheap, but we decided not to. And anyway, he was thinking about getting the curve, and me knowing that BlackBerry 6 just came out and BlackBerry 7 is about to come out, I was just like, don't buy it. Do you think the Nexus Prime will come to at&t? Google's plan was for the Nexus phones to go to every single carrier, and we know that didn't work. So I'm gonna say yes, but actually I'm not even certain about that, so I'm not sure. Question. What do you believe, in your opinion, is the best OS out there? I don't think there's a best one for everybody. I think everyone has different needs. Listen to me, I sound like a hippie. I think, there's different ones, and we all just have to get along, Anyway, I think everybody needs something different. Some people are media users. Some people are business users. Some people message a lot. Some people, whatever, multitask a lot. I think people need different things, and so the best OS out there is the one that fits you. iOS will be perfect for a lot of people. Android will be perfect for a lot of people. webOS could have been perfect for a lot of people. I don't think there's one OS that fits everyone. Listen to me. I should, run for president or something. It's motivational stuff. This is inspirational. Okay. Nice hippie impression. Thank you. That's why I asked, in your opinion, meaning for you. Okay. No need to get smart. My opinion, for me, Windows Phone is why I picked it, because, and I said this in the article, I'm huge on looks and design and aesthetics. It's a huge thing for me, and Android is ugly. It's just ugly. It looks like a beta OS. And trust me, I tried every launcher out there, and I just didn't like it. Windows Phone is beautiful. The transitions are smooth and uniform and beautiful, but at the same time very functional. And also, multitasking is going to be there. The notification system. So it's beautiful, but at the same time, it is very functional. So for me, Windows Phone is probably the perfect operating system. I know you've probably heard like 2 people in your life say that, but I'm telling you, Windows Phone, you should try it. I'm just going to say that. You should try it. No, you're huge in organization. Okay, that was random. Alright, let me get a few more questions, and then we'll end this little session. Oh, Facebook. I forgot about Facebook. What are your thoughts on the Xiaomi Phone M1? I haven't even read much about that phone, so I couldn't tell you. Oh, and that's it on Facebook. Okay. Back to Ustream. I'm fighting with Ustream. The chat window, it like scrolls up and then it scrolls down and it scrolls up and scrolls down. So I'm just fighting with it. What do you think will be the starting price for the new curves in Virgin Mobile? Sorry, it scrolled back up again. Okay, I can't find the rest of that comment. Oh, sorry for all the curve questions. No problem. Starting price, I don't know. The current one is like, what, $350? Is that right, or is it $250? I imagine it would be somewhere in there. Oh my gosh. Okay, one more question, because I can't fight with Ustream anymore. When Android Ice Cream Sandwich comes out, it looks better. Windows Phone has gone through. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Oh my goodness. Ustream, you're killing me. Windows Phone has gone through a huge change and looks a lot better than what it did. When Android's Ice Cream Sandwich comes out, it looks better. Okay, I don't understand that question, so I'll just do another one. Hey, Sydney. Yes, I remember that 2 weeks ago. You were here. That's awesome. Okay. Is AT&T coverage good in Dallas? Sorry, man. I didn't mean to snap at you, but I've seen that comment like 5 times. I don't know what you want me to do with that information. Okay. I'm sorry. That was rude. I apologize. Is AT&T coverage good in Dallas? It's all the stuff that people say about AT&T. It's all true. It's I get great speeds, and then I get terrible speeds. I get calls that are clear and excellent, and then I get dropped calls. When it's good, it's great. When it's bad, it's terrible. It's inconsistent. And so that's what it's like, at least for me in Dallas. I'm actually in the North Dallas area, sort of like Addison, whatever, Farmers Branch area. It's like Dallas Metro. Anyway, technically I'm in Dallas. But anyway, so yes, that's what it's like in Dallas. Okay, so that's all I'm going to do for today, because I'm tired of fighting Ustream. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I know the Aaron call, it was a little bit difficult to understand, but hopefully you could. I'm going to watch the recording, and so I'll see what it was like. But we are, like I said, we're trying to work out having some co-hosts, and then I'm hoping for a podcast, because I'd be really excited about that if we could do it. So anyway, if you have any questions that I missed, you can follow me on Twitter. My screen name is It's My Job to Know. If you're watching this on YouTube, thanks for watching. Leave your comment below. Check out the timeline if you haven't already, even though you're at the end of the video. Keep on PhoneDog.com for more news, updates, and reviews. Is that it? I think that's it. I'm done. Okay. Bye, guys. See you next week.